Today's devotion is titled Conduct Control, and we are on day 358 of walking through the Bible in a year, Anita style, which is alphabetical. And so we are on the Timothys. Today we are finishing the first book of Timothy. So our morning rinse is 1 Timothy 4 through 6. And if you're following along on the dates, we are on December 24th, Christmas Eve. Now, the featured verse that I pulled out of today's morning rinse is 1 Timothy 4:12. Let no one look down on your youthfulness, but rather in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity, show yourself an example of those who believe. Being a pastor's kid, I know that you guys know that I grew up as a pastor's kid, and I can vouch for the criticism that a pastor receives. No matter the age or how long one has been in ministry, criticism is inevitable. I have also received criticism, even from this podcast. I've gotten several messages that say, that I'm not on point or that I shouldn't be doing this or whatever. I just delete them. I can tell you, if you put yourself out there in any way, shape, or form, you are going to receive criticism. No matter the age that you are or how long you've been in ministry, it is going to happen. A leader in the church is never, ever going to please everyone who attends a church. It just is not going to happen. I have heard pastors critiqued because their church was too small. I have heard others critiqued because their church was too big. I have also heard complaints that the choir was too loud, or that the message on tithing was too long, or the music was not upbeat enough, or the music was too old school. You name it, a pastor has probably heard every single complaint that there is, and that's just the reality. But regardless of the murmurings, a pastor should always do what God is guiding them to do and live with godly conduct in the pursuit of what God is asking them to do for that specific congregation. And this is the main message that Paul was saying to Timothy as a young pastor. It was natural for Paul to address the complaints about, his lack of experience and youthfulness. And this same advice is great for any of us and can apply to any part of a person's life when we enter a new season. And even though the context of today's featured verse applies to Timothy's age, it does not have to only apply to how old a person is. We can be young in other areas. For instance, what about a newlywed couple? They don't have experience in being married. They're in fact young in that season of life. And some people will get married at 35 years old. They're just young in that part of their life. What about a new parent? They are also young in their experience as a parent. And even with today being Christmas Eve, I think of Mother Mary. The reference of young can, like I said, be referenced when somebody is inexperienced. And I am sure as she was about to give birth to baby Jesus, she felt a lack of confidence in her mothering skills. And I mention that because today is Christmas Eve and we're kind of centered around that if you're following along on the calendar date, and reminiscing her life. Just because there may be a lack of experience in a new season of life, though, does not mean the person's advice and leadership in that area should be discounted or looked down upon, just like Timothy. And when any of us enter a new phase in our life, it's common to lack the confidence needed initially to flourish in that area, and even lack the confidence that our voice, is being heard, some people will start a new season and they'll kind of shy away from giving their opinion or vocalizing something. And yet, that is not what Paul was saying to Timothy. We need to have confidence in God as he guides us. And what my encouragement to you would be, when we are starting new things, and especially when we're launching new ministries or launching new vision for our life or getting a new job or starting something fresh or just have something in our hearts that we're wanting to do that is new, my encouragement to you is to have confidence in God as he guides you and to keep obeying him. Do not focus on your lack of knowledge in that area, but instead conduct yourself in a manner that no matter your age or experience, your life is still an example. We will never lack criticism, no matter what we do. There will always be people who criticize us, always. And this is a part of being human that is uncontrollable. But what we can control is our conduct. I want to read the featured verse again. 1 Timothy 4:12. Let no one look down on your youthfulness. And remember, I'm going to take a pause and say, yes, this is focused on Timothy's age and the criticism that Paul was getting because of his age. But it can also, in reference to our lives today and applicable, especially when somebody is reading this and they may be my age and not 21. I may be wanting to start something new and fresh, and I'm young in that experience. But what the mission is, let me finish the rest of this verse. Don't let anyone look down on your youthfulness, but rather in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity, show yourself an example of those who believe. In other words, no matter what is happening in our lives, whether we are young or whether we are lacking experience, don't let people look down on you, but rather stay true to the conduct of what you are living. Keep obeying God. Make sure that your speech is pure and holy. Make sure that your conduct is upright. Make sure that your love is pure when you're loving others. Make sure that your faith is strong and that you are living in purity with no sexual sins or any of that around you. But yet, live a life to where that you are showing yourself an example of someone who believes in the Lord. And make sure that you live a conduct. And as long as you stay living this conduct of obedience and these things listed, God will be with you, and he's always with us, but just stay true, because that is, having criticism is again uncontrollable, but we can control our conduct as we live out this life. So today's challenge to dig deeper is to ask yourself, we're coming to the end of this. We're coming to the end of 365 days. Or if you're following along on the calendar day and you are joining in and you still have yet more time next year, say you just jumped in on this study and you want to read the Bible in a year and you just started maybe December 1. Well, you've got a lot of next year, but yet the cool thing is we are coming to a closing of a calendar year. We are coming to the closing of December. And what happens is when we end this year and start a new year, there's all kinds of new things that are churning. I always refresh my goals for the next year in real estate, or I always refresh my goals in things that I'm wanting to do personally, spiritually. And so there's always something new. And this is such a perfect example of time. And so if you jumped on in, we're all in this together. And I say all that because we're all starting a new calendar year in just a few days. And so if you are wanting to start something new and you are spurred with the new year coming up, but you're worried about the criticism that you might receive, do not let anyone look down on you because of your age or your experience, but fully rely on God leading you. And as long as you are discerning, He's going to lead you and help you obey. And make sure that you keep your conduct pure, your stance tall in Christ, and go for it, because it is going to be very exciting. And it is always really exciting when we start something new and fresh and we get ideas, and the new year comes and there may be things in your business or personal life or things that you want to tweak within your household, new endeavors that you want to go down. I would venture to say that as the new year starts, don't be worried about the criticism. Don't be worried about your lack of experience or your age. Just start it and make sure that your conduct is pure, because, again, we are never going to be without criticism, and we can't control it. But what we can control is conduct. And that's why I titled today Conduct Control, because that is something that we can control. And so the exciting thing is you can pull out your journal and have your evening reflection. And what I want you to write down is, what are you starting new? What are you starting new? And are there any neat things that you are in your heart going to purpose for you to start? And if there is anything that needs to be done, then you can start going ahead and implementing those things and making your list of to-do things and going ahead and starting it. And that in and of itself is a really exciting time to be at. So what are you starting new? And write it down, because the reality of it is, in a year from now or 2 years from now, I know I mentioned this a lot, you'll pull out your journal, you'll pull out your book, and see what you wrote down that you're wanting to start new. And then what happens is you're going to be able to gauge how far along you are on that journey. And it is really, really fun to see. So I want you to write down in your journal, your evening reflection, what are you starting new? And I can't wait to hear about it all. If you do not have my devotional, then you know where to get it. It's in the show notes, as well as in the YouTube description of the episode that gets uploaded to YouTube. Now, if you are starting this journey and we are coming to the end of this month, this month of December, but the reality of it is all of these podcasts are going to be up online, and you'll be able to go to any of your favorite podcast platforms and see these episodes. And then all of the videos, all 365, will be housed on my YouTube channel, and you can always go back through the playlist and scroll through and find those episodes and rewatch them if you want to. So until tomorrow, keep rinsing, reflecting, and repeating. God bless.